that you didn't
No, no,
expect.
no. I remember now. You asked me if I have personal time.
Yeah. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Parenthood, the space where we share honest, unfiltered stories of parenthood, the magic, the mess, and everything in between. This week, I have a guest whose work I have admired deeply over the years and whose personal journey into parenthood I have been very eager to talk about. Joining me today is Japleen Pasricha, the founder and CEO of Feminism in India, a platform that has been a powerful voice in reshaping conversations on gender, equality, and justice in our society. But today, we are stepping into a slightly different but equally important conversation, her journey as a parent. Japleen has been in a beautiful partnership of over 12 years with her partner Ajit, and together they are raising their toddler Noor. Her approach to parenting is rooted in connection, open communication, and something I really resonate with, treating her child with autonomy and agency right from the beginning. And I can't wait to dive deeper into this conversation with her. Japleen, I'm so glad to have you here with us today. Welcome to Parenthood.
Thank you so much, Neha. This is the first time I'm doing a podcast which is not related to feminism. So I'm
Yeah.
equally excited and nervous because I haven't prepared. Yeah, we are just gonna go with the flow. Let's see.
Yeah,
My
and to
daughter is sleeping. Thank God for that.
yeah. And to begin with, Japleen, if you had to describe yourself in just three words or
My
phrases,
God.
what would they be and why?
Okay, okay, I would say resilient for myself. I think I have really internalized hustling, which I now realize in my mid 30s is both I mean it's great in your 20s, you put in long hours,
Yeah.
etc. But now I also feel like I need to draw some boundaries for myself. But I do believe that resilience is something that I have and that has kept me going in a lot of hard times. And that's something that I would like to see in my daughter also. So that's one that I would describe myself. Secondly, I am someone who is very, I used to joke about this, like I'm by accident born in Indian. I should have been a German because I am very this thing about routines and following rules and yeah, so I'm very orderly in that sense, very organized. I thrive on routines, I thrive on efficiency, being productive, etc. And actually sometimes I just don't know what to do on Sundays, because so I will clean my almirah, I will just reorganize things because I need a purpose for that day also. My husband really doesn't like, because all he wants to do is laze around. But yeah, that's me. And third, I would say, and that's something that I've been learning over the past few years, both in my work but also personally, is to just, take a step back and be
Yeah.
kind to myself, to people around me, and, operate with kindness, with empathy. So that's something that I am working on. But it's a value that I deeply admire, and it's something that I would like to see myself excel in. So
Wow.
those are some of the I'm not fun. That's why I didn't say any fun word. I'm not a fun person, but I'm a person that you can rely on.
Uh, we'll take that. We'll take that any day over fun, I think. And tell me, Japleen, if your life were a book, what would its title be?
Oh, so I actually have written a chapter about my work and I mean my life, in the sense like from teens to up till now.
Yeah.
And it's a chapter of it's part of an anthology, and the title of the chapter is An Accidental Ambition. uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would, if I do, expand that chapter into an autobiography, then I think I would keep a similar title, something on the lines of The Accidental Entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not something that I actually plan to do. And, that's a whole other story that we don't have to get into right now because it's not related to this podcast. but I never planned on doing what I'm doing today. And sometimes I also feel, oh, this is maybe not the right calling for me, or I made a mistake. So for me, being an entrepreneur is really an accident. And I also believe a lot in learning on the job, and
Yeah.
that's how I have built my organization. So I think, yeah, if I were to write my autobiography, I would, at this point, I mean, if it's until at this point, I
Yeah.
would name it as accidental entrepreneur. I don't know what I'm gonna do 10 years later, so let's just like stick to till I am here today.
That's perfect. And let's talk about your family life a bit. Can
Yes.
you introduce us to Ajit and Noor, both of them, and maybe share one little detail about each of them that makes your heart smile?
Yes. So my husband Ajit, we met when I was in my early 20s and he was like, I think 27, 28, something like that. We met at a very interesting event at a food walk. He's a
Oh,
big foodie, and I had gone there because my friends had invited me, and it was a Sunday, so I was like, okay, I don't have any plans, so let's just like
I don't
go.
have to clean my Almira. Yeah.
Yeah, so so we met over the love of biryani. We met at
Wow.
Andhra Bhavan, and I think I know it sounds cliche, and I'm not really that romantic kind of a person, but it kind of like something just happened, like it was a spark, and just a few days of us talking, we knew that we are in for the long run.
Mm,
Like either it's till death do us part, or nothing is going to. There was no in between for us. Like it was very
right.
clear, and we had a lot of like ups and downs in our relationship. But we did get married finally. I have a kid now who's 2 years old.
Yeah.
I think what I love about him, he's a foodie, so he cooks really well,
Wow.
and I don't like cooking. So in our house, the kitchen department is his. He decides the menu, everything that needs to be done, what needs to be ordered. So I really enjoy that. That's a responsibility of me, and he also cooks for me. Especially, I am very fond of coastal cuisine. So even
Mm.
though that's not something that he's fond of, he's very typical Punjabi, like butter chicken and all that. But he will cook that for me, so I really appreciate that. And he's very caring. He's almost to the caring that I call him my personal doctor and my personal nurse, because that's what he becomes if I get sick. So I don't
Wow.
have to worry when I get sick, because I know he's just gonna read up the entire internet and find out what needs to be done. And I feel like I can't do the same for him because I am not so much into this. So I worry that when he's sick, how am I going to take care of him equally, or like, to that brilliance that he
Yeah.
does. But yeah, that's him. And my daughter Noor, she is 2 years old, and she's right now in that phase which I call like, tabahi machana every day, day in, day out, just like, walking on ashes and just like throwing everything. But it's really fun. And I also think she's also very kind. She will notice small things and she will just do it for us. So like when I have come, I'm gone out, and we have this thing where we keep our outside slippers, outside the door, and then we have house slippers. So she will just bring me my house slippers without me asking or saying anything,
Oh.
and she will tell me, Mama, like, your chappal house slippers pehno, and remove those. um and I see these like small small things that she does, that makes me believe that kindness is something that she is also embodying. One more thing that I really want to share, and it's something both personal but also like very feminist, is how my daughter has taught me about self-love.
Mm-hmm.
So she does this peculiar, generally when we ask her to, give me a kiss or like hug me, she'd be like, no, 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 like, just for the sake of saying no, you like toddlers, will.
Yeah.
And no, she's not big cuddler.
Mm.
And I am a big cuddler, so I really miss that. But I try to, even though I really want to squish her, but I try to respect her boundaries.
Yeah.
But something that she does that really, left a mark on me was, So if I'm changing in front of her, if I'm like, or if I'm wearing shorts, she will come to my thighs and she will kiss my thighs. Somehow
Oh,
she loves my thighs. I don't know. But why I find that deeply like it has a very deep meaning for me is because I feel like as women we have very problematic relationships, especially with our lower bodies, with our thighs and our hips, because these are parts that have the most fat, they have the most cellulite, and they are the parts that for a lot of women it's very hard to like tone them, or even
yeah,
after working out, like it's that part that I feel like you hate the most
yeah,
if you are in that phase of where you feel your body is not how it should be. And even as feminists, even when I recognize that this is internalized, and it's all capitalist driven for us to hate our bodies, like knowing all of that, still sometimes I do, like especially post pregnancy, you're like, oh my God, I used to be so thin, or I used to look hot, and now I'm just like a blob of fat, and just and so she would come, especially, and my thighs does have cellulite like most women, and she would come and kiss my thighs. And of course, for her, this is just, or maybe that's where she's reaching. Her height is only reaching my thighs. So I don't know, because when I ask her to kiss me on the cheek, she'll be like, no, no, no. But that act itself, I know for her it doesn't have any deep meaning, but for me, it's just, made me think that my daughter doesn't see my thighs as ugly. She
yeah,
doesn't see them as fat. She doesn't see them as something which has a lot of cellulite. She just sees her mom, and she sees her mom with love and with beauty. And she loves my thighs for whatever reason, that she comes and kisses me without me asking. When
yeah.
on the other hand, she wouldn't, when I request her and I say, please, 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 Noor, and she'll be like, no, no, no. But for this, she will come and kiss me on her own. And that has taught me something about self-love. From my 2-year-old daughter is teaching me about self-love. Even though I have theorized this, my website has some 10,000 articles about body image issues and self-love and whatnot. But I mean, we are people at the end of the day, right? We are not superhumans, and we are not people who have no imperfections. So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Wow. And I know you've described your relationship with Ajit as one built on honesty, trust, and teamwork. Tell me, how has that foundation supported you as new parents, especially in these first couple of years with Noor?
Yeah, so we have always been like this, like we have always operated as a team, even though within us we have a lot of, disturbance, and like we will argue and shout and all that. But I think when it comes to anything that is, when we are confronting anything that is outside of us, like the two of us, even sometimes our daughter, we work as a team so that, even if we are disagreeing on something else, but here we have to come together. And that has always been the case. Even when we got married, we really wanted to have a very, non-ritualistic wedding. So we had to work as a team to counter our parents. So both our parents were a team, and we were a team, and we were arguing and fighting. Oh, ye nahi karenge hum. There will be no dowry. There will be no gifts. All of that. Like we had a lot of fights with the parents, but we stood, as a team, that this is how we want to get married, and you have to come on board. Like there's no, other options. And I think similarly with childbirth, and even before we even got pregnant, given how I am, like I, love, like I also feel like I have this need to control, and that's something that I should add in my 3 phases. But I planned the pregnancy, and I planned it to the T. Like, I wanted to do it in a very systematic way. And that's just that's my personality, that's how I work, that's how my brain functions. So for me, an accidental pregnancy would have been like something that I couldn't have
Yeah,
dealt with. So I
yeah.
wanted to plan it. So we went for tests. We are in our mid to late 30s. So, we wanted to understand where is our health at. So everything we did, I was leading it, but he was on board. So I told him, okay, first we have to get these fertility tests done. Then, of course, the fun part. And after that, every appointment, then I wrote out a birth plan. And even though these things are not common in India and the hospitals don't even care, like they're like, what birth plan? But for me, it was important for me to state what I want. And even though most of things didn't go as per the plan that I had written down, but I have a pregnancy research notebook, just also that's my personality. And in that, I had a birth plan, and I sat him down in the last week of our pregnancy, and I said, okay, this is how I want, this is how I want you to manage, because parents will be calling, everybody is going to be super hyper excited, and I want some space from all that, like relatives just jumping in. So I wrote everything down and I sat him down and I said, okay, I want you to act this, I want you to, be this barrier where if I want space, you should be able to convey that to all the family members.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be like, I'll be busy or whatever, I'm will be a mess of
Yeah.
emotions and hormones and whatnot. So, I really prepared myself because that's just how I function, but I also prepared him that this is how I want it to be done, and I want you to take, ABC responsibility. And he understands that, this is important for me, even though this may not be the way he operates or he functions or like, or how he wants to do things, but that this time was mine. It was
Yeah.
about me. It was not about the dadi or the nani or masi or anyone else, but it was about me and about us as a family. And it's something that he also understood and made sure that I was not uncomfortable. And then, of course, with Indian families, there are a lot of like rituals, apna sar dhako, for example.
Yeah.
And even the person that I am, I'm also rebellious. Can add in the first question. Now I'm just thinking, अब सब कुछ याद आ रहा है मुझे, पहले नहीं
हाँ.
याद. Sorry. So I told my mom, I said I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
First I asked her, I said, why am I supposed to cover my head?
Yeah.
The thing with Indian, like our generation of Indian parents, is that they never questioned their
Yeah.
parents. So they don't have any logical answer. This they will say बड़े कहते हैं. It's like, but
हाँ.
क्यों कहते हैं? कुछ
Hmm.
सोच के ही कहते होंगे ना वो बड़े. So when I confronted my mother and also my mother-in-law, I said, "Why am I supposed to do all this? Do you have a logical reason?" And they didn't, because they never questioned their parents. They said, "Aap kyun nahi sunte ho? We have also done that." I said, "I don't want to do it because it doesn't make sense to me." So
Yeah.
so for me, because I was also saying no to a lot of rituals that I was supposed to follow, as per Indian society, and that's something again my husband was in complete agreement with. Ki, उसको नहीं करना है तो नहीं करना है. She is not comfortable. You can't force. And there is no medical, reason
Yeah.
why this should be done. Like another example, and this is something that we actually had to fight with our family, was in Punjabi households, it's customary that the dadi will, feed the baby a spoon of honey.
Honey. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently they have done that to us also when we
Yeah.
were babies. Now, us as modern parents who read up things on the internet, we found out that honey is, you shouldn't be giving it to
Yeah.
babies because it's fatal to them. But when we said that to the family members, it's like, तुम्हें भी तो दिया था, तुम्हें तो कुछ
हाँ.
नहीं हुआ, you are fine. So we really had to, fight off these things, and that's something that we did as a team. And I'm really glad, because even though we have our own disagreements and we both have the like highly opinionated, strong-minded personalities, so like it clashes a lot, because it's
Yeah.
not one person just listens to the other. But when it comes to things like these, we know that we have to function as a team and we have to stand by each other.
Perfect, perfect. And how is it working out when you are raising a little human who also seems to be a person of her own,
Yeah, definitely. She's the person of her own. No, I think there are some things that where I give in because I know that this is important for him. So, given that he's a foodie and he's also kid when it comes to candies and ice creams, like mera man ka, like that
Yeah,
do you know that song from Hum Aapke Hai Kaun? It says
yeah.
chocolate
Chocolate
ice
ice
cream
cream.
Meri Saheliyan. So I joke with Ajit that that song is made for him because that is his relationship with chocolates and ice creams and toffees and candy and lollipop. Can you imagine a 40-year-old licking lollipop like this? That's my husband. Okay. So he was really keen to give all of this to our daughter. And I was like, are you mad? You know, she's a child. Of course, she's going to have all of this, but like, let's wait. So we had
Yeah.
to negotiate when we are going to introduce ice cream because he was so excited to introduce ice cream to her. And I'm like, she's going to have it for the rest of her life. We can just delay it as much as we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had to negotiate that. Because I was not keen and I don't have a sweet tooth. And, if somebody tells me that we'll give you this and you have to give up ice cream and I'll be like, okay, fine. If you're giving me something that I really want, then I'm okay giving because it's not that important for me. But
Yeah.
he, no, 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 I really want her to have the love of ice cream that I have. So we also have to negotiate these kind of things. But then I also see, what is very dangerous or very risky and what is
Yeah.
something I can let it pass. So
Yeah.
then we came on a ki theek hai, once a week she'll have ice cream. So we have a rule now. So that it's not just like whenever she asks for or you want to give her ice cream, that's not how we're gonna do it. But okay, once a week, she's two also now. And she also has a sweet tooth. I don't पूरी ही बाप पे गई खाने के मामले में बाप पे गई है पूरी सो वो भी when she knows कि किसके पास जाना है when she wants ice cream and something like that then it's papa otherwise she's a mom's kid but इन सब चीजों के लिए पापा
And tell me, how was you said, you had planned everything to the T, and things didn't go as per plan according to the birth plan that you had during the delivery and her birth. So tell me about that time. Were there any emotions that stood out for you and that you relate with now that you think back to that time during Noor's arrival into your life?
yeah so I think I as I said I am that person who would like read up everything for something that's this major in your life. So I did a lot of reading books, posts on Instagram, for pregnancy forums, etc. And I was also prepared that things are not going to go as per my plan, but this is like how I would like it to be. So I think just like something that now a lot of women who are especially giving birth in their 30s, it's very common that even though you're trying for a vaginal birth, you have to somehow go for an emergency C-section. And there are like various reasons, but you see that this is a very common occurrence now. Like even
Yeah.
data will support that. And that's something that happened with me also. We really wanted to have a vaginal birth, but I was not dilating. Then the baby pooped inside. The cord was stuck around her neck. She was not able to come down. Like variety of reasons, and we don't exactly know what. But after some 24 hours of labor, there was no dilation. I mean, it was 2 centimeters. And the doctor said we cannot wait. And now that she has pooped inside, like, it's no longer. So we then had to have an emergency C-section. And
Yeah.
I think that I remember that because labor rooms, thankfully, today in India, especially like some hospitals, they allow the husband to be with you
Yeah.
during the entire labor, right? And my husband was there. I remember like I have an elder sister and she gave birth some 12 to 13 years back and I was there and when she actually went into labor like when they were taking they did not allow my brother-in-law. So I
Yeah.
know that this rule is also very recent that it has changed because it
Yeah.
wasn't the case even just 12, 13 years back. But then once the doctor decided that they will have to have an emergency C-section, of course, then they took me to the operating room. And I think that that detachment suddenly that my husband has been with me for the past 24 years, and now suddenly I'm alone, and the vibe just changed like exponentially. It changed because labor rooms are a little slow. You're supposed to
Yeah.
just breathe in, breathe out. The nurse will come check in, after every 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour. And the OT is just like lights, camera, action. Like everything needs to be done. So you don't like you are not able to even you don't get a minute to absorb what
Yeah.
is happening with you. and there are like 10 people around your body. Somebody is putting a cannula here, somebody
Yeah.
is putting a, like they add a, I don't know what's called, like a urine pipe.
Catheter.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, ethido, yeah. And just like so like so many people are doing something to me, and I was just zoned out. So I zoned out completely during the birth.
But hmm.
Because suddenly I was away from my husband. I was in a different room that I have been in the past 24 hours, and just things were happening to me. Then the anesthesia. I mean, I wasn't unconscious because
Yeah.
they don't do that anymore, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was there, but I was completely zoned out. I was overwhelmed and zoned out, and I just not focusing on what was happening. But like just a funny thing
Yeah.
happened. So I I heard that, the baby is out because I heard the baby cry, and they don't immediately tell you if it's a boy or girl. And I was too zoned out to even ask that question. But the my doctor, she said, "Congratulations, beta," and she said that to me.
Oh.
But see, you also got confused,
Yeah.
and I was so zoned out at that time that I thought she said, "Congratulations, beta, hua hai." And I was really hoping for a girl child. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
sorry to accept that. I was really, really, because I had thought of the name also like way before. So the first thought in my mind was, oh no, अब दूसरा बच्चा करना पड़ेगा because I will try for another, like a girl next time. And between this and when they actually brought the baby, just like 5 minutes would have passed because they take the baby, they check some
Yeah.
vitals, they clean the baby, and then they bring the baby to the mother. So they brought, and I'm like lying flat on the, and they brought her to me and they said, "Congratulations, it's a girl." And my first reaction is, what are you even saying? Like, can you please decide? Because I'm very confused. Then I said, but the doctor just, yeah, I actually said that. I said, the doctor just said, "Congratulations, beta." And then they all started laughing. And the doctor said, "अरे मुझे सोच के बोलना चाहिए था. Sorry, I confused you." I said, "You confused." So the first few moments of me being introduced to my baby, to my daughter, is this like, I'm having a conversation. Can you please clarify if it's a boy or a girl? Because you guys are confusing me. And I mean, after this, I mean, of course, all this took like maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute. But after that, I think it really hit me that that I finally have my Noor, and I thought of the name beforehand. And then they asked me, "Do you want to do skin on skin?" I said, "Yes, yes." So they put her on me, and it was just for a few minutes. I really don't like the way C-section happens in India. I don't
Yeah.
know if other hospitals have a different procedure, but like I had her only for a few minutes. Then you're supposed to be under observation. Both of you are separate. So then, but I think another moment that I really remember is when they were taking me out of the operating theater. My husband was there, and he had seen Noor beforehand because first they took the baby
Yeah.
out to the NICU and to do some checks and whatever, vitals and etc. So he had seen her, and he actually had a better look and also got to held her. And after like a minute, when I was, passing out of the OT, I saw him crying, and when he saw me, he just like
Oh.
reverse. So he hugged me and he said, "Thank you so much, baby. I love you." ऐसे करके. And then, but then that was like that 2 minutes of us. We got to
Yeah.
watch for a minute. And then again, this part I don't like. They keep you for observation for a few hours. So
Yes.
I was just separate from both my husband and my daughter for I think an hour or so. That's what they say is standard practice, but I really feel like, it could be a little more compassionate and empathetic. Like, a woman has just given birth, she is a mess of hormones, and you neither have the baby next to her nor any family member. I was just like alone in a bed. There were nurses hanging around, there was nobody to talk to, and I was looking at the ceiling fan because you are lying flat. You can't even, for during a C-section, you can't like raise your upper body.
Yeah.
You have to lie flat for 24 hours actually. So that part I did not really like. And I know that this is not standard practice globally because in Western countries now for C-sections also the husband is allowed or like
Yeah.
partner is allowed. So I believe that this will change in India, like how labor rooms rules have changed. But yes, this part is something that I really feel like hospitals can do better. And I understand that they have to medically ensure everything is 100% okay, but
Yeah.
like think about the mental health of the woman who was just cut up and a
Yeah.
baby come out of her, and like now you have left her in isolation. I think that was one of the worst part. But after an hour or so, then they moved me back to my room, and that's when the baby also came, and that's when then I have been together. After that, we were always in the room. They didn't take her to the NICU, and we initiated breastfeeding at that time. So yeah, everything okay after that, but that part really was something that I really hope hospitals change.
Yeah, yeah. And tell us about now. Can you, since you are so orderly and routine rules your life, so can you walk us through a typical day in your life now with Noor? What does the rhythm of your day look like between everything that you do, work, parenting, partnering, and finding time for yourself?
Yeah, so sorry. Actually, things have changed a lot for the better since she has turned two. Like I can see she is a little more independent because I've also been breastfeeding. I'm still breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she is a complete breastfed baby, never accepted the bottle. So the first 2 years were very difficult for me, in the sense that I was tied to the baby.
Right.
Like physically I was tied to her. So I couldn't get out of the house. I even scheduling, if you would have asked me last year to do this interview, I would have told you I just do not have that kind of time that I
Yeah.
can take out 90 minutes, undisturbed 90 minutes. It's impossible. But
Yeah.
now she's a lot more independent. I'm not responsible for her sleep, which was the case earlier. She would only sleep on the boob. So everything,
Wow.
I mean, sleep was really, something that I struggled with because I think for exclusive breastfed babies or whatever, maybe, it's a unique case with her, but she would just sleep by nursing. So
Mm.
naps, bedtime, I had to be there. Like I had to say no to conferences, which included overnight stay because I just
Yeah.
couldn't, which I have been able to now. So in July, that's the first time I traveled out of the city. Uh,
Wow.
this July. So it's a huge milestone for me. And she knows that, she remembers it. So I explained to her कि mama na plane में, ऐसे mama plane में Bombay जा रही है. So I went to Mumbai, and whenever now she sees a picture of aeroplane in one of her books, she'll be like Bombay plane,
Oh.
mama. She remembers that now. So lot of things have positively changed, and now the routine is something like this. She wakes up around 9. She's late sleeper, late that doesn't. I get so many, these things from my friends who have toddlers. They wake up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I said, my daughter sleeps. Thank God for that. Yeah, and I have a nanny who comes home during our work hours, so she will
Yeah.
be there by 9:30, quarter to 10. And that's when I'm still involved because, with toddlers and their connection
Yeah.
with moms, you cannot just be like, I'm gonna shut the door, the nanny is
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
for 8 hours I'm gonna be in the, it's not possible. Like
Yeah.
it's unrealistic. So for me, I don't work a 8-hour shift. I work based on, okay, I have to do this work. This is a deliverable. This needs to be done by this time. And I'm gonna work in 2 hour shifts, then take a break, see her, play with her for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then come back again. And that's how I'm assuming most moms
Yeah.
work if you're working from home, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have any like other primary caregiver, because even my husband also works from home, so all of us are home, but she wouldn't disturb him as much as she disturbs me. Just both a compliment, but also makes your professional life a little difficult.
Yeah.
But Now we are in a good rhythm. She wakes up at 9, has her breakfast with the nanny. She'll take a bath, play. She loves magna tiles, so she'll make house. That's her favorite thing to do, house banana. Love that. And then she has lunch and goes for nap around like 1:32. Wakes up around 4:30, which is why this is the best time for me to do any
Yeah.
undisturbed work. And then again, like there'll be some playtime with the nanny. Around 6 is when the nanny leaves. And that's also when I shut my. So we have ensured that we overlap the nanny coming and going with my
Yeah.
work hours.
Yeah.
And that's when we go to the park. And that's something that I really value, that, that we have at least 1 hour of outside time. Uh,
Yeah.
we can do cycling. She has a scooter, or there are also kids, even though their kids are older, like 5 to 9 range, but
Yeah.
like they are very welcoming towards her and they love her. Like for them, she's like a cute little toy.
Yeah.
And she also likes a few kids. Like she knows now कि ये दीदी है भैया, so she'll say Kaira दीदी, Anaisha दीदी, Amira दीदी, and also it's nice. I also get to, like shut down for some time, and we are in the park till like 6, from 6 to 7, 7:30. Then we come back, we have dinner. We are a family who eats early at 7:30, and we really like that we are done with the dinner and, like, done with all household chores by 8. We are free. And then it's time for video calls with Dadi and Nani and Masi and Bua. There is also some screen time that now she has, where she watches a few times. And yeah, I think then 10 is her bedtime. So that's more or less the routine. And I really enjoy when, like, things are just like going as planned. But today, for example, today is Ashtami. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, she was out the entire first half of the day, dressed up in a lehenga, playing kanjak, and got so much, that prasad, that now I don't know what to do
What
with
to
all
do
the
with it?
puris and halwa, because I already had in the morning, and I mean it's too much. You two people can't eat it. But I'm glad that she had that fun today. And I remember, when I was a little girl and we used to go in our colony, and it was fun. Uh,
Yeah.
all the aunties would come and wash your feet, and just a fun activity for her. So I'm really happy that she gets to live it now. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was the day today. It was the highlight.
Yeah. 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 And tell me, has parenthood changed you in ways you didn't expect?
Yes, yes. I am not known for my patience. That's something that I didn't used to have earlier, but now I have a lot of patience. Sometimes I tell my husband, be patient, and he's like, you are telling me. Because he's the one who's usually calm and patient, and I'm the one who gets stressed out and, just gets worked up. But I think that's something that definitely, I all parents and all moms would agree that patience is something that
Yeah.
their baby and their toddler has taught them. But I think for me also, just seeing the little things, like, that kissing on the thighs thing, it's, it could also be nothing, I
Yeah.
mean, not everybody would interpret it that way. Like somebody would just say that's where her height is meeting you, and, just, I don't know, maybe she enjoys the a lot of mass there.
Yeah.
But for me, as a woman, as a feminist who understands how women, especially after, I mean, not that only postpartum, body image issues is something that most women
Yeah.
undergo it, but especially for moms, new moms, and postpartum, it's something that most mothers really struggle with. It's and people also, expect that, oh, why aren't you bouncing back? Are you still pregnant? You look 5 months pregnant, even though the baby's here.
Yeah.
So those are some things that women have to have to navigate in today's society. And I think it was just a moment for me that made me reflect that, you know I don't like my thighs because I think they are fat and I think they have cellulite, but my daughter doesn't think. Like she didn't say yuck or whatever, and she knows the word yuck. You know, we have taught her कि okay, नीचे से खाना उठा के नहीं खाना है, that is yuck.
Hmm.
But for her, and I asked her, do you like mom's thighs? And she's like, yeah. And then she would just keep kissing me there. And I
Oh.
really, yeah, I mean, it was a teaching moment for me, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me, as someone who's deeply engaged with her work, whether she likes it or not, that's another thing. But also with her child, how do you carve out time for yourself?
Yeah, I don't at the moment. I think, as I said, things have been better since she turned two because her dependence on me has reduced. I think,
Yeah,
as I said earlier, it was very difficult for me to physically detach myself. Like, I had to be where the baby needs to be. And not the other way around. And of course, I mean, I'm not gonna drag a 2 year or a 1 year old to conferences or whatever. It's not
yeah,
something that I want to do, and it's stressful for everybody involved. Like for the baby also, it's very stimulating, etc. Right? So for me, taking out time is honestly a new thing at the moment. It has not been a reality for the past 2 years, and um, I know that I should take out time, but for me it was also like, okay, this is something that I have to do, you
yeah,
know. I decided to become a mother. I decided to breastfeed. Initially, our parents told us give her the bottle, and first time parents are also a little idealistic, like, because they want to do everything perfectly. And
yeah.
I know that now, if I ever have a second baby, I know what not to do, which
Yeah.
I did. Because now कि इतना मतलब there's no point in giving yourself so much stress, like the baby doesn't care and nobody else cares, only you cares because Instagram has told you to do things certain ways. So like giving the bottle, we were like, no, we want to breastfeed, but we will give her later. So that's what we decided. And by the time the breastfeeding relationship was established, she absolutely refused the bottle. So when we thought, okay, maybe, and we didn't know this is a thing, first of
Yeah,
all. I
yeah,
didn't know that breastfed babies have this thing that they reject. So we
yeah.
thought, okay, we'll just use the bottle as a backup कि जब मुझे कहीं जाना होगा bottle दे देंगे. We thought
हाँ.
it's कि जब हमारा मन करेगा we'll give her the boob, जब मन करेगा we'll give her. So, yeah, lesson learned very hard.
चलो अब प्रैक्टिस के लिए फिर अब सेकंड बेबी लाइक दिस इज द थिंग दैट
Oh
you don't know,
God.
either you write a book or you have a baby, all over again to practice what you have learned. Where do you take so much gyan?
Exactly. I I gave my husband the same argument. I joked to him one day and said, I think we should have another baby because of all the learnings that I have now, I need to use them. Oh God.
but but
What was
also
your question? Remember?
I also forgot. Perhaps I asked you, you have you changed in ways that you didn't
No, no,
expect?
no. I remember now. You asked me if I have personal time.
Yeah.
Don't you have questions written down somewhere?
But I am not asking them in order. Okay, now we are spilling trade secrets. On to my next question.
Let's go to the next question.
Yeah. And on that note, can you share a moment when you felt most challenged as a parent, or or maybe overwhelmed as a parent? You didn't know what to do and how to deal with stuff. And yeah, what was
Yeah,
that like?
yeah, it's what I've spoken previously. It's and this is, I mean, jokes apart, this is a real learning for me. If I ever have a second child, is I think Noor is also someone who doesn't sleep easily. So,
Yeah.
I have other a lot of my friends who also breastfed their babies up till 2 years. and even further. And they would be like, oh, we would, just nurse them, and in 10-15 minutes they would fall asleep, and then we would unlatch and just, like whatever, do our own thing. And Noor, absolutely, she is not someone who falls easily asleep.
Mm.
So she needs a good 40, 45, even an hour to fall asleep. So for me, I think the nursing to sleep initially was very easy, like in the
Mm.
first 6 months, because babies also like don't have so much consciousness at that time, and they are mostly like sleeping most of the
Yeah.
time. So because it was so easy in the first 6 months, and I was just, breastfeeding and, eating, and just like I was also on maternity break from my own company.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, this is easy, I can do it. But things changed after the 6 months mark. Her her wake windows increased,
Yeah.
and that was not the problem. The problem was that she wouldn't fall asleep easily. So she started fighting sleep, and she would take a really long time. And it just got worse, 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 till up to, I would say, just a few months back. So I would be stuck with her during her entire nap, which means
Wow.
that I couldn't work, I couldn't schedule anything, and also it was just really painful also to be, that your breast is in the baby's mouth and she's just sucking on it but not leaving. And if I try to unlatch, then she will wake up. So then I have to again put it in. So for me that was extremely challenging to a point that it was almost triggering at one point. Like I would just cry myself out. I would really, say things like, I regret breastfeeding, I should have just given the bottle. And really it was a very dark, I would say, phase. And only just a few months back things have changed. So she would reject any other person for sleep. Even though the nanny that I have, she has been with us since Noor was 6 months. So it's been almost 2 years. Um, Noor is 2 years and 3 months now. Yeah.
Oh.
But she rejected the nanny. She rejected her father. And I mean, we are a nuclear family, so we don't have grandparents living with us, but they live nearby and we visit them often. But like the people in the house, so which means me, dad and nanny, she rejected both of them. So I had to manage her naps. And that meant that I was stuck with her in the room for over an hour. And by the time I would come out and do my own thing, she would already be up, right? And
Yeah.
same for bedtime. Bedtime was still okay because, okay, I'm also
Yeah.
going to sleep. So it's still manageable, but that also meant, like, you asked if I had time for myself. I never had that time, because if
Yeah.
she is going to sleep, that means I'm also going to sleep. So we both
Mm.
were sleeping and waking up at the same time, because by the time she is asleep, it's already, late for me. And she needed like that human touch, right? Her
Yeah.
primary caregivers touch right next to her. So she would need my hand. Mostly it was the breast, I would say 90% of times. Now, because she's 2 years old, she's a little grown up. I think her body has also is accustomed to being a little more independent. But
Hmm.
this is something that I really, really struggled with, both because it was solely my responsibility. Nobody
Yeah.
else could do it, and that meant that I had to miss a lot of events. I couldn't, go here or go there, be it personal events or professional events. So, missed weddings, missed just going to friends' places, going for like whatever festivals, and then also missed a lot of work,
Yeah.
conferences and events. And that impacted me. I mean, physically, of course, it was
Yeah.
very exhausting, and it's also, your nipples get sore, they hurt. But I think the most impact was the mental health. It was really shitty at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, to the extent that I was regretting why I breastfed, even though that's something that I'm really proud of. That, it's something that I've accomplished, breastfeeding a child for over 2 years, and we are still continuing, but now it's like a very customary one-time thing. And we are in the process of weaning off. But something changed close to when she turned 2, which was
Hmm.
this June. And so now she sleeps with the nanny. So that's a big, big change for me.
Yeah.
That I have my daytime free. So,
Yeah.
from whenever the nanny comes to 6, even if I have to, like let's say I have a meeting at 3 p.m. Or 2 p.m., I can go out. And
Yeah.
that sounds like a very okay, so what? But
Yeah.
it's a big deal. It's a huge deal that I can just tell somebody, yeah, I can meet you at 2 p.m. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I get on a call at 3 p.m. Because
Yeah.
I don't have to worry, will that clash with Noor's snap?
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
question. Oh my God. I just feel like someone else who is not a parent, who is especially not a mom, will just not understand the weight of this question that I no longer have to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is something that I personally, this has been my biggest learning, that we just don't know if this is something so, they say कि जब तुम्हारे साथ होता है तभी पता चलता है, but this is such a personal thing. How do you to get to make people understand? You don't get to make people, you don't get to have them understand this. You and how crippling this thing is, how isolating this whole journey is, and at the same time, of course, you're not, all of that. Of course it is rewarding, of course it is, there is so much fun in it, but at the same time you are struggling so much with this. So yeah, but I'm so glad to know that now you have some time, schedule things. And also, I want to talk to you about your philosophy of parenting. You talked about connection, autonomy, and open communication with her. Can you share how do you bring that in your day-to-day parenting?
Yeah. So this is something I tell my husband also, that, we shouldn't say no to her for everything. Because that the value of no will be,
Yeah.
lost if for everything that she's asking, that yeah, maybe we don't want her to do that, but like we also cannot operate on the fact, because we don't want something, for her to do something, that's something that she also wants. So we have to understand that there will be some things that she will do that we won't like, but we'll have to let it be. And I tell my husband that we have to, we have to say no on things that are really important for us. But if
Yeah.
it's something that, like it's a low risk thing, or it's a like a, doesn't, even if it's making a little mess, but it's fine, that mess will be cleared up in like 5 minutes. Just let her be. It's okay. Like, let her do that, So, like, so this is something that my husband struggled with more, because, as I said, like, the food department is his in our household. So even like ensuring what she eats and dinner time, that's something that I told him, listen, I am breastfeeding her throughout the day. So dinner time is your responsibility. I'm not going to do that. So it was his responsibility to feed her. So, there was some like a power struggle between the two of them. Like, because she's a toddler, so she is seeking her independence. Like, she wants to hold the spoon. So she loves eating curd, right? And she wants to
Hmm.
scoop out the curd with her spoon herself. And my husband like, no, I will do it because you will make a mess. So I told her, you need to let her do it.
Hmm.
Yes, she can create a mess, but it's fine. She, as it is, needs to learn how to use a spoon. And
Yeah.
that's something that, she will only learn by this. She's not going to learn just because we keep putting it her in her mouth. She's not going to learn how to, how to use her wrist, because
Yeah.
you have to do. So things like these, then, if we are in the park, if she's playing with little mud, I let her do that. I don't be
Hmm.
like, no, 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 your hands will get dirty. I said, okay, fine, we'll wash her when we go back to our house, but we're gonna let her do some of these things. Another thing that I struggle with, but I try to, maintain that boundaries, when I ask her that, Noor, can you give mama a kiss, or can you please hug me? And she's like, no, no. The no is just so it's very loud and clear. And I really just want to like squish her, but sometimes like, okay, no, I need to respect this. So even if she's saying no, I am not going to just use my physical, power over her ki even if you're saying no, I'm just gonna hold you tight and hug you and kiss you because I want to do it and I'm really
Yeah.
like, struggling with that. But I try to maintain that boundary with her that if she's saying no, she doesn't want to hug and kiss me, I will not I will not abuse my physical.
Power.
Yes, my just because I'm the bigger one in size.
Yeah. You also said you practice sustainable parenting,
Yeah.
something that again really resonates with me personally. Could you share what that means for you in practice?
Yeah. So we use cloth diapers. That's I think the biggest change, a switch that you can make as a parent if you want to practice sustainable parenting. We use cloth diapers. We have used disposables, so we are not perfect, and nobody is. Uh, and those are like emergency cases when we are out or we are traveling, and we know that we will not be able to wash or like there won't be proper washrooms. And if she, especially if she poops, because urine still you can
Yeah.
manage. And I carry a wet bag in her diaper bag, and we just pop in the urine-filled diapers or whatever in the wet bag, and it doesn't smell. It's like a very, it locks it in, and then we come back and we just throw it in the machine. But when we know like she hasn't pooped and it's her time to poop, and that's when we are supposed to go out, and we know this is not a mall, we will
Yeah.
have to there will be no place for us to wash the poop, then we have to use disposable or like during flights or train or like when traveling. But I would say 80 to 90% of time we have cloth diapered her from
Yeah.
the beginning, and that's a huge environmental impact. This will have of using cloth diapers. Another thing that I try to do, and I think that's a more Indian thing, and most people do it, is just like get hands me down
Yeah.
from your friends and family and cousins who have kids older than her. So we buy very little clothes for
Hmm.
her, very like minimal. I will buy like once a year on her birthday or something so that she has like a nice dress to wear. But generally, I just get clothes, and I'm thankful that I have a lot of my friends who have kids, who have daughters just 2 years older to her. So it's perfect. And
Yeah.
actually, I just got a bunch of clothes just last Saturday. So I met a friend of mine and I told her, please get me
Yeah.
please get me whatever you don't need. So I do that quite often with friends, with cousin. I have a cousin also who has a kid, like, just 3, 4 years older. I shop on thrift stores, online thrift stores. So I have bought stuff for her from online thrift stores. So it is used, it is pre-loved. But that's something that I do very consciously that, I want to buy from because clothes are something the child is going to wear like 5 times and then they will
Yeah.
outgrow it. So I don't like see the logic or sense in spending money on something that is so trivial, and especially and this is something that, as I said, it's I feel it's more of an of a society thing because we have been doing this since ages. Like I have worn my elder sisters and she has worn some other elder cousins clothes, etc. But yes, cloth diapering is something that we have consciously made the decision that we are going to do this. With respect to toys, also, we ensure that if we are buying something, it's something that will grow with her. So we
Yeah.
buy less toys, but we buy toys that are open-ended, that are sustainable, mostly wooden toys. And we bought her, for example, a pickler, which is a little expensive. It's around 15,000, but she has been using it. We bought it for her first birthday, and she has been using it till today. And I know that she's going to use it for the next 5 to 7 years because like it has so many variations. You can hang, you can play on it, you can like just jump and monkey around. So we try to buy toys like this. Like we don't have stuffed toys at home, and we
Hmm.
try to avoid it because we know that A, it only looks cute to the adult. The baby actually has no interest. The children
Yeah.
don't have any interest in stuffed toys so much. And especially a baby doesn't know. Maybe a 3-year-old will, but like a 1-year-old doesn't care about stuffed toys. So we try to avoid them. We tell the family members, especially the grandparents, they don't listen always, but at least we try from our end that they at least follow some of the sustainable parenting rules that we have. So like buying less clothes. That's something that I struggle with family, because they are always hyper excited that, oh, this is so cute, I want to get this for her and all that. But yeah, that's the struggle. But I would say like 80% of times we are able to follow what we want and how we want to parent our child, especially when it comes to sustainability.
Perfect, perfect. I love that. And tell me, if you had to like, kind of zoom out and look at your till till now, what one small but impactful moment from your journey so far that has really stayed with you?
Oh, okay. Let me think about this. So, if I
Yeah.
were to zoom out and something impactful, wow, uh, I need a minute. Impactful for whom? For me or
For
for the
you, for you, for the baby, we'll ask the baby.
yeah. Um, I think, okay, I do have something. I think after becoming a mom, and this is very cliched, and this is something that our mothers keep telling, keep saying this to us and be like, whatever, कुछ भी बोलते रहते हो आप लोग.
Yeah.
But I have realized this, and I've actually not said it out loud to my mom, but I'm saying this on a podcast, so maybe I'll send her the link
Yeah.
of this. But I think I have more empathy for my mother.
Hmm.
Uh, as after I've become a mom, I have more empathy for my mom. I have a lot of sympathy for her, and for my mother-in-law also,
Hmm.
because I know that we, the modern urban women of today's generation, we decided when we wanted to get married, we decided when we wanted to have our babies, we have a career, we have a lot of say and decision making that our mothers didn't have. Like, they didn't even have 50% of it. They got married in their late teens to early 20s. They had two babies by the time they were like 25, 27, and we were like still figuring out कि हमें क्या करना है अपनी life के साथ at 27 or 25, whatever. And 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 they had a lot more responsibilities. I have a nanny, I have a cook, I have a cleaning helper at home. So even though there are still a lot of household chores that I do, but still, like, I don't have to do the majority of this kind of work. Like, I've been sitting in this room for the past 2 hours not knowing what's happening outside. Is she I don't even know if she's up or she's still sleeping. And I'm sitting here carefree because I know there are people outside this
Yeah.
room who who know what to do. Even if she's up, nanny knows कि okay, उसको अब ये खाने को देना है, whatever. My husband is also there. They didn't have involved fathers. I hate that term,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. That you have to say to demarcate, because there are uninvolved fathers. Like, all fathers should be involved, and that should be the default. But
Yeah.
because there are so many uninvolved fathers, so we have to have a special term for those men who are doing their bare minimum of
Yeah.
being the father. So they didn't have that. And I think that like, I can empathize with her. I feel bad also for my mom, especially. I know that at the age of 20, she was a married woman. At the age of 20, she had so many responsibilities of being the woman of the household, of taking care of my father's siblings. Then my daddy died just a few years after the marriage. So, like, at 21, 22, she was just taking care of the entire household. I had a
Yeah.
toddler, my sister. Then I came a few years down the line. So by the time she was 25, she had lived like 50 lives already. And,
Wow.
it's something that I would never be able to do this. Like, and I know that I would never also be in a situation. I'm privileged enough to not be in a situation where where I have to take so much responsibility at such a young age. Like that age has also passed,
Yeah.
so I'm very thankful for the sacrifices that my parents and especially my mother made to ensure where I am today. And I'm sure my daughter will have even better lifestyle, like generationally they just grow. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think becoming a mother it has shown me that that like that mirror, and also given me that perspective which our moms jokingly say, जब तुम माँ बनोगे तुम्हें पता चलेगा. And we never take that seriously because we like,
Yeah.
"क्या, आप जब देखो lecture मारते रहते हो, why are you always lecturing us?" But I do realize the depth of that sentence, even though I know, like, moms also say it in a nagging way, and we also are like, as teenagers, like early 20 women and daughters will be like, yeah, mom, why are you so boring and why are you stressing me out or whatever. But I think now I understand where that is coming from, even though it's said in a like a half joking and half naggy way, but there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. You know what struck me while you were saying this? It struck me that you use the word teenagers for late early 20s and late teens, where our mothers were already married by that time. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
we were
Yeah,
teenagers at that time, and our
yes,
mothers were already married by that time.
yes.
And
They
yeah.
were women.
Yeah, they were women. Yeah, this is very hard hitting. Yeah, and I think this speaks truth to their existence and their life and our life as well. You know, the in itself, it's a privilege to be in this situation. Yeah. And now, if you could go back and sit with your pre-parent self, do you have something that you would tell her that now that you've walked this path for a while?
Yeah, I think and I think it's a first time parent thing, and also just my personality. I do stress out quite often and quite easily.
Yeah.
And and especially, initially when Noor rejected the bottle, and that meant, like, for me there was no break whatsoever.
Yeah.
Even when I was sick, or I had really I had to work, like the baby needs to be fed, the baby is hungry, the
Yeah.
baby needs to be fed. So there is like no two things about it. And if she's not taking formula and bottle, you can't do anything about it. So I think I also, because I was this hot mess mom, I was just like, not being able to rationally see. So if she was really crying, then I would just give in. So I feel like I also didn't put in a lot of, like, we tried, and she would cry ki, no, she only wants the boob, like, and then I would just give in because I just couldn't see her crying. And but
Hmm.
I feel now I understand that babies are a lot more resilient than we
Hmm.
think, and that we think that they are these, like, very vulnerable, naive creatures, but they're actually way more resilient. So I think I would be kinder to myself. um and that's something that is a very hard learning for me. And I
Yeah.
tell my friends also now, friends of mine who got pregnant after me and who have younger babies, I tell them that this is something um that you may have to struggle with, but like be kind to yourself, because the baby is going to be fine. You think that the baby is not going to be fine, but he or she will be.
Yeah.
It's you who needs to be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So well said. And finally, Japleen, for my last question to you, if there's one piece of advice or wisdom or insight that you'd like to leave our listeners with, what would that be?
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, on parenting,
Yeah.
right? This is just to give myself time to think about it.
It's okay. You
I
can
know this
take.
could be edited. Yeah. I think on parenting, I would say that there's Indian society says things like these, like even if things are not okay between a couple, जब बच्चा हो जाएगा तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. And I have seen, this kind of logic being used in extended family or even with friends, and it actually never works out. It always backfires.
Yeah.
And I've seen that it just gets worse, and the entire burden of parenting obviously falls on the mother.
Yeah.
So, my advice to anyone who's listening, and especially to people who want to be parents, is that before you become parents, you need to be really, really close with each other and have, like you need to be on one page with your partner, because your partner is actually the most important person in this journey. It's not the baby, it is your partner. It's not your mom, it's not your mother-in-law, it is your husband, it is your spouse. Because if you two are not on the same page, you are neither going to enjoy the journey of parenting, and their parenting is hard. It drives people apart, it drives couples apart. You don't have intimacy for a really long time, you don't have time for each other, and it's a very difficult time, not just for you personally, but for the couple, as a
Yeah.
unit. And that is when your bond needs to be way stronger. Like it needs to be much, much stronger from when, how when you fell in love with each other. Uh, if your bond is not strong at that time, you won't be able to support each other. So I really believe that this whole logic that Indian society uses, that if things are not going right, just have a kid and then everything will fall in place. It actually is the exact opposite of that. It will drive you even further. So you both need to be a team. You both need to be, you know, your bond needs to be very strong to, especially for the first, I would say the first year or the first few months, because those are the hardest. And then things start to get better when the baby becomes a little more independent, starts eating, uh,
Yeah.
play with other people also. Like now, my daughter will also happily nap with her dadi and nani, which she never did for the first 2 years of her life. So I know that I have a lot more independence today
Yeah.
that I had 2 years back. And now, to that question of finding time for yourself, now I can do it. Uh,
Hmm.
and I know that these 2 years, now it's easy to say that because they're in the past, uh,
Yeah.
but they were one of the hardest, years of my life. And my husband was there with me on all fronts. And that is, for me, I think that is one of the most crucial things that helped me, I'm sorry, help me pass through this difficult phase. So yes,
Yeah.
that would be my advice to all new parents is your ensure that your bond is strong before you decide to become parents.
Wow, wow. I think that's such a practical advice. Thank you. Thank you, Japlin, for joining me today, for sharing so openly about your journey. It has been such a joy to hear your story, the honesty, the challenges, and the philosophies that make your parenting journey uniquely yours. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this, and I can't believe that we are speaking for the first time, because the the amount of time that we laughed, I think you will have to edit that out.
I think I'll let that be.
Yeah, you take that call, but it was really fun talking to you, and I think we should like meet up someday,
Yeah.
hang out, share. I would love to know your parent, because now you know everything about, or you know a lot of things about me, but I still don't know much about you. So let's meet up sometime.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Thank you, Japlin. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode of Parenthood. If Japlin's story resonated with you, or if you found little sparks of wisdom in this conversation, I'd love for you to share this episode with a fellow parent who might need to hear this today. Until then, this is Neha Garg signing off. Take care and bye bye.